In question 5, it's solving a quadratic equation, so 3x squared plus 10x minus 8 equals 0. I articulated you've got some choices here, same thing we've been talking about throughout this last lesson. We can factor, we can quadratic formula, and if you really wanted to complete the square, I would say that's not a very good option for us here just because of the numbers involved. So let's take a look at how we can set this thing up. 3x squared plus 10x minus 8 equals 0. Now what we've been working on this year is when this leading coefficient is not a 1, then what we do is we take 3 times our negative 8 and get a negative 24. That's our A times C. That negative 24 is the number we're going to work off of here. So what we want to do is we want to find numbers that we can multiply to get a negative 24, but add together to get a 10, and we're going to break that 10 up. So here's what I'm thinking. If I take 12 times 2, we get 24. So I want it to be a positive 12 and a negative 2, so that when I add these, a 12 minus a 2 is a 10. So with this strategy in mind, remember we're going to take the A times the C, get a negative 24, then think of numbers you can multiply together to get a negative 24 and add together to get a positive 10. And the numbers we found were positive 12 and a negative 2. When you have a positive and a negative, I would always encourage you to put the negative one first, so it's 3x squared minus 2x plus 12x. And I want to re-emphasize what we're doing. We're just renaming this 10x as a 2x, negative 2x plus 12x. This right here is still a positive 10x. So I'm going to get rid of those so I don't have to look through that distraction. Then minus 8 equals 0. Then what we do in this technique, we group the first two and we group the last two, and we factor out what we can out of each set of parentheses. So out of this one, they each can give up an x, so we're going to factor out an x, so it's 3x minus 2. Out of the 8 and the 12, we can factor out a 4, so we're going to take out the 4, and it's going to be 3x minus 2. That equals 0. So then we're going to do one more set of factorizations. If we have 3x minus 2 is in each term, we can factor out your common factor of 3x minus 2. And what we're left with, if we take those out, is an x plus 4 equals 0. Now once you have it factored, you set each factor equal to 0. 3x minus 2 equals 0, or x plus 4 equals 0. Anytime you multiply two numbers together and your answer is 0, one of those two numbers has to be 0. So now we'll figure out what value of x will make our first one equal to 0. I was going to go ahead and work on that. That's 3x equals a 2, which means x is equal to 2/3. So one solution is 2/3. This one says, what number can I add to x, or add to a 4 to get 0? Well, that is when x is a negative 4. There's my second solution. So what I just demonstrated to you there was the factoring technique. I'm going to try to quickly go through the quadratic formula. You got the negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So here's another alternative. That will find your x's. You take the opposite of the value of b, which is 10, plus or minus the square root of 10 squared minus 4 times a, which is 3, times c, which is a negative 8, all over 2 times a, which is 2 times 3. So this is our plug and chug method. We just plugged in our numbers. Now we're going to chug out the results. So negative 10 plus or minus the square root of, this is 100. The two negatives are going to make a positive, so it's going to be plus 24 times 4, or 12 times 8, which is 96, all over 6. It's negative 10 plus or minus the square root of 196, all over 6. Still working downward. So I got negative 10. The square root of 196, that's a perfect square. It ends up being exactly 14. And now we got to do our two different possibilities here. We want to make sure that we do our addition and our subtraction routes. So we're going to take a negative 10 plus 14, and negative 10 plus 14 is 4 over 6, reduced as 2/3. Then the next time around, we want to go ahead and do the negative, so it's going to be a negative 10 minus 14, which is a negative 24, over 6, which is a negative 4, which you can see are the same answers we had from the factoring method. You got your pick there. Do a quick survey, see which one you think you're like better, and then just pull the trigger and go ahead and do one of those techniques and solve it.